If you go on film sets, you're going to be meeting with all different kinds of people, all different kinds of conditions, and people who are very emotional because there are going to be all kinds of problems and things changing, and they could pass some of that emotion down to you, and if you do something that's not right, you can get criticized heavily, and if you do something, or you didn't do something, you might get criticized because that emotion just flows off. So, if you get criticized, how do you deal with that in a good way? All right? The first thing that I'm going to tell you to do is acknowledge the grain of truth. Okay? One of the things I keep talking to you about is etiquette. It's your goal to relax the other person. It's your goal to put the other person at ease, even if they are off the wall and stupid. You put them at ease. Okay? This is sort of like the Gandhi way. And the Martin Luther King, that's sort of nonviolent, even though they're trying to be violent towards you. All right? Okay, so acknowledging a grain of truth, even if you kind of have to stretch it to find a grain of truth. Because maybe there's no real truth in what they said, but I will give you a grain of truth. I am so happy. You might not use the word happy. I think it was very important that you told me what you did, rather than just holding it in, because it would still be there. So I'm glad that you expressed yourself and you told me, how you felt about this or whatever. Now, if it was that the criticism was you dropped something back there, or you did something like that, then and maybe it wasn't even you who dropped it, but they're accusing you of having dropped it. Rather than just saying, that wasn't me, how you would acknowledge the grain of truth is, that's awful that happened. I'm really sorry for the production that, we keep the we going. We lost that. Actually, I wasn't the one handling it, but I will do everything I can to try and help. Just slip that in there, rather than it wasn't me. Isn't that so much different? Okay, so you're going to acknowledge the grain of truth, even if it wasn't truthful about you. That just disarms people. Basically, you're trying to disarm people. Okay? Now, after you acknowledge the grain of truth, if you have a rebuttal, and what's a rebuttal? A rebuttal is something like saying it wasn't me. Okay? I didn't do it. It's not my fault. Okay? If you have a rebuttal, say it only once. And after you've acknowledged the grain of truth. And say it once. And that doesn't mean say it once this way, and then when they don't seem to hear you, say it another way this way, and then and this is in your relationships. If you said it clearly, particularly if you started with the grain of truth, so you're starting off by trying to calm them and by acknowledging their concerns. Okay? If you start off with that grain of truth, and then you put in that rebuttal, if they do not hear your rebuttal and acknowledge your rebuttal the first time, they are not going to hear it the second, third, and fourth time. And instead, you're going to get into a tug of war back and forth. Okay? So, if you have a rebuttal, say it once. And if that person keeps going on and they don't seem to have heard, or they're not, they don't want to give their ground or really listen to you, what you need to do next is buy time. See, we always want to have a knee-jerk and respond and just get it. The next thing, after you do your rebuttal and it's not really heard, what you want to do is buy time. Okay? And so you can say something like, I think this is really important, and I want us to both think this over. I know I need time to really, because I can see how concerned you are about things and how this has affected things. And before I respond, because it's really important, I really want to be, clear thinking in how I respond. I think I need a little bit of time, and I will get back to you. You can say, I'll get back to you in 5 minutes, because I'm in the midst of this, but buy time. Because when you stay polite, when you stay respectful, when you're not fighting that person, you're not necessarily agreeing that they are right and all this stuff they said on you, you start to disarm them. Because usually when people give criticism, one, they're either not seeing you as a person at all, they're just throwing off what's, or they're uncomfortable giving criticism. So that's part of why it comes out with so much emotion and so much whatever, because they're not comfortable. All right? So what you want to do is slow down the situation, relax the other person a little bit by acknowledging them, and buy a little bit of time. And what that also does is you need to think more about the content of what they said. Because if you don't like being criticized or it makes you feel bad automatically before you even really hear what's being said, okay, then you might not learn from the criticism or really take in what they are saying. Because people can say things in awkward, you might, by buying time. Buying time is also, did you clearly understand? Like one way to make sure is feedback the criticism. A lot of times you didn't hear correctly or they missaid it. And if you feedback what they said to you, sometimes things will get clarified by them. Now, if you do say you want a little bit of time to think about things, do get back to them. Don't leave something dangling. I hate in life and relationships where people say, oh yeah, I'll follow up, and then they don't follow up. And it's left to the other person to bring it up, and that only brings up, bad feelings. Okay? Now, if you can't slow down and do this, then you need to check yourself out. Because it shows a lack of confidence in yourself, and also maybe that you're not really dealing with the truthfulness of the situation if you have to be so defensive on top of their criticism. Any questions, or does this make sense, or does this help you at all?
I work on that, so it did help me a lot, yeah.
What, on taking criticism?
Yeah. I'm taking a minute and apologizing and acknowledging what's wrong on my part.
And it's not even apologizing. It's recognizing a bit of truth in the situation or the need for the situation to express itself. And I don't see it as apologizing. Unless there is something that you need to apologize. Okay? I'm saying it's about reframing the whole situation.
Okay.
It's reframing it from a defensive stance to one where you're really trying to understand the situation. And you can't understand a situation if you don't take time to really hear it clearly, to calm the other person down. Okay? And you must also realize that you have to have your own personal scripts. That if you write, I have you write this down because when you write something down, it goes into you deeper. Plus later you can look at it and read it, and it'll go back into you. But if you're about to go into a situation where you know it's going to be emotional, look at the little script. Look at the little script before you go in there. And you'll feel yourself working with a framework rather than just, okay?